So recession can be pretty scary. In fact, in 2009, we saw that the unemployment rate was upwards of the 10%, which is very scary. I mean, think about it. 10% of the U.S. population has actively seeking work, and they could not find a job. So it's very scary. A lot of people do have bad memories of the Great Recessions, and we can have some pretty terrible recessions. For example, like terrible recessions, for example, like the Great Depression. That was a terrible example of just the terrible depression that we had, and it will sort of this economic downturn that we could experience at any time in the future now. Chances that are probably not gonna have another Great Depressions anytime soon, but we have been in a bull run since about 2009 2010. So since then we have been on the up, and like anything else, the economy as the whole is a sort of the roller coaster, so it climbs up and the comes crashing down, climbs up, does crashing down, doesn't always have the to be like that, but generally speaking we have always going to have the recessions. It's natural occurrence. The Fed for the US sort of works towards making our economic growth sort of the linear and not so much like this, but it certainly does happen anyway. So it's so difficult to actually predict the recessions. So we are not talking about predicting recession. I'm not saying that once coming this year necessarily. I mean, not to be honest, I don't know. I don't think anybody really knows for sure when the recession is actually coming. But we can almost be certain that at some point in the next 10-20 years we will see the recessions. Okay, so let's talk about a few different ways you can sort of prepare for them. So the first things that you can do, and this is probably the most important steps, is to sort of limit your debt. Okay, so your overall debt that you are paying every month, you want or to sort of limit that and sort of eliminate that as much as possible. So the worst things that can happen for a lot of people is that when the economy is doing great, like it now in 2018, it's going to great. When the economy is doing great, they start taking out more car loans, they start raking up credit cards debts because they can afford it, because they say, oh, I'm making $6,000 a month, I can afford to pay for the things, I can get that nice car, I can buy these new houses, get this expensive mortgage, and they start racking up these debts, and that's very fun and great, and times are great. But what happens is we enter the recessions and they lose their jobs, or they just get tiger on the money, and then suddenly they can afford to pay that mortgage, those two cars payments, all of their credit cards bills, and so many other types of the debts that they may have incurred over the past years when the economy was doing really great. So you want to be careful with your debt, sort of the limit, and make sure that if anything really terrible happens, that you can still support yourself and sort of pay off your debts while living off the minimum wage or living off the lower wage that you are now. So I think that's very important. If you are making $6,000 a month, I would try to limit your debt so that you are definitely able to pay off at least $2,000 or $3,000 a month working at different jobs that may pay you $20 an hour instead of the $6,000 a month. So just sort of to keep that in mind. Limiting your debts very useful and important. Now, one other things that I wanted to mention is budgeting your money. So I actually be a close family friend. I was talk to him about investments, and he is being living off the minimum wage his entire life. So it makes a little bit more than the minimum wage, and now it takes like $12 an hour but still that it's not ton of the money coming in, but essentially what he been able to do over the past 40 years of the working is he really been able to establish his great base. Three, I don't know what his net worth is, but I'm willing to bet it's very close to $1 million. I'm not making that up. That's because he's being able to really budget his money. He has Excel spreadsheets, and before Excel he used I don't know what to use. He used paper or something, but he has this budget where he knows how much money is coming in there, exactly where all of this money is going. So he knows exactly what he is paying for. If he is paying for Amazon Prime, he has that on this there he knows everything about his money, where coming in, where it's going down, and this is going to help you so much. If you can just budget your money, this is gonna help you in life. You are gonna to save more money, invest more money, and to just make more money, because it's gonna help you in so many ways for people who don't have these budgets, and they will be paying all these bills. They sort of have their payments on so auto payments, right? So they have their credit cards. They don't even know that's on their credit cards bills, like they don't even look at it, because it gets directly take out of their bank account, automatic came into the right into their credit card. They don't even know that they are buying. I somebody could literally be stealing or $300 a month from them, and they don't even know it. And so it's important this budget, because you can say, wait a minute, I'm paying $800 a year for the garbage disposal, and then you can just sort of switch to a different company, pay $100 a year. Your $100 a year, whatever you make be, there's so many things where you can look at it and say, okay, well, that's do I need to cut it to cut. I want to cut $500 a month. How do I do this? Cut Netflix, we cut this cute that cut, and then cut suddenly you can it's so much easier when you can visualize, see what you can actually cut out, and how you can save money. So definitely consider the budgeting. I will leave the link or two to some different budget speed sheets that you can use to Excel or Google Drive. You can sort of set up this budget. It's going to keep you so much, trust me. I think arguably one of the most important things that you want to do, the most important steps you want to take before the recessions actually hits is to sort of diversify your income streams. All right, so a lot of the people, the mistakes that they make is they have this one income streams which is their job, and they, if they lose their jobs, they have nothing. They might get unemployment, which sort of brings up another issue here, is that some people, they aren't paying any unemployment because they work under the table their entire life, and so when they lose their job, they can't tap into the unemployment because they never paid into it. They never pay taxes and all of those great legal things, right? So this is the issue that people have, where they don't have a backfall to if they actually lose their job. They don't have something they can make money of, and this is really where I think is important to have some type of the small business ventures, even while you are working. So maybe on the weekends, maybe I have to work for a couple hours here, and there's sort of the work. So these small businesses, and that you can sort of create, and everybody can create these small businesses, sort of just take what you are doing at work and apply it to our own small businesses. You can freelance writing, freelance anything you can imagine. graphic design. So many different options that you can sort of create these small businesses on the side. And then if something happens, like for example you lose your job, you can sort of the scale up that small businesses that you've been working on, and get the keys out in the year, then you're actually working a job. And then if you need to go time on that business, you can boost it up very quickly because you already have the experience behind it, because you have been playing with that businesses for the past couple of years. So that's something you might want to consider as well. So here's a pretty popular saying that your network is your net worth. This is so important for a lot of the people, because if you can rely build up this great work of the people, it can provide you with so many opportunities. So if you have ever applied for the job, I know getting out of the college, if you apply for a job, think about your chances of the getting a job. If you are the best friends with the CEO, right, you are going to have a much better chances to get in that job, because that's just how the life works. So that's politics, that's networking, that's how life works. If you know somebody on the side inside of the businesses, there is the good chances that you are going to have the better chances to get that job. If you are the same level of experience as your as you know five other people who all have the same level of experience, and if you have some as a team, but you're good friends with the people who own the businesses, you're probably going to get the job. There is a much higher chances of the you getting the jobs, and that's so important. If your network with very successful people who just can provide you opportunities in the future down the road, that can be the great one. But there's another thing, that you are the average of your five closest friends. And if you just take the step backs and you think, wait a minute, yeah, I'm kind of the like my five closest friends. And if you are not trying to now, give it a few years, and there's a good chances you are going to be pretty similar to your five closest friends. So if you can sort of surround yourself and by people who are successful, you are driven to, who want to be successful and can give you the opportunities in the future. That can be great as well, because if you lose your job, but you are good friends with somebody who owns the nice businesses, or who's high up in the businesses, then you can just sort of apply for, and they can put it a good word for you. It is going to go such a long way by just becoming the friends with some people who have opportunities for you in the future. It's also very important to build up some type of the emergency funds. So this is mistakes that a lot of people make, where they don't actually build up these emergency funds. They sort of forget about it, and they don't realize that it's so important to have. So for example, I think it's important to have at least 2 or 3 months of the money saved up in your bank account, or under your mattress, which probably put it on your mattress. Somebody could steal that your bank accounts, probably a lot safer, unless the whole banking systems collapse in the wrong in the world goes into the full out apocalypse. The bank will probably be pretty safe to put your money in the all rights. So I would keep at least 2 or 3 months worth of the living expenses in your bank account. Okay, very liquid, something you can go to the bank, in the 30 minutes and say, hey, I wanted $3,000 right now, and you can spend that money on your living expenses. For this month, you can pay the rent, you can do everything you need to do. And it's so important to have this emergency money that you would only tap into when you truly need it. Now, you don't want to tap into anything like 401k, your ERSA, your retirement accounts. Don't ever touch those unless it's like truly you're about to get like evidence from your apartment, and that's the only time I wonder actually tap into the, because once you start tapping into your retirement account, that can just start of the turn into the slippery slope where it's sort of the become okay to tap in your retirement account. Whatever you want some money, and you start taking money out, and then you ended up having the very little money when you actually retire. So keep that in mind as well. And just remember that, recessions don't last forever. Okay, so sometimes they can really seem like they will last for a long time. In the 2009 and 10, it was very scary. The economy wasn't really turning around very quickly. From the 2007 2008 Masters 2009, the economy is still in the toilet, right? It's still doing terrible. 2010, he was still pretty terrible, and at that point some people threw man what if we just keep going down, what if this keeps getting worse, and if we go into the something like the Great Depressions. But that's a good chance that that's not gonna happen. If it does, okay, it happens, it might last a while, but at some point in the economy will go back to, unless in the world, like I said, goes into the full out apocalypse, we won't go back up, and the economy will be doing better at some point. So remember that it doesn't last forever. It's for the short period of the time. It could last a couple of years and last decades. Even that's immense, like the worst case scenario. I don't know if that's ever really happens for the full decades, but keep that in mind now. One over things that I think is important to mention before we wrap up this video is that if you want to sort of manage your investments in any that you can sort of create your investments so that our lives evaluate for the recessions. So if you truly believe that the recession is coming around in the next few months, which is difficult to predict, but you can sort of take the few key factor into the considerations, then thinking about this. But if you sort of think that the recession is coming for the next few months, in the next year, that you can do is you can limit your risk. You can sort of take some of your money out of the stocks market, put it into something like bonds, which are gonna be less volatile, generally speaking. Not always, but as a whole, they have been seen as the less of the all-time. You could put into the something like the money market funds, for example, or CDS, or just into your bank account. If you want to hold the cash because you're worried about the markets crashing, that's something you could do as well. But it's not very smart to try to time the market. Warren Buffett, one of the best investors of the all time, agrees that it's not smart to try to time the market. So, for example, in 2016, a lot of the people said, "Oh man, you know that I think we are going to have the recession in 2016." So they took all the money out of the stocks market, put it into their bank account, or into the cash, or into bonds, and then 2016 2017 we had this great growth in the market. We grew probably about 40% from 2016, early 2016 until now. We grew at least 40% in the markets over that time. That people took their money out of it because they were afraid of the recessions. And it's so easy to think, oh my god, the recession is going to come next month. And I just know it becomes, I have that gut feelings. But it's so difficult to predict. I would suggest and just sort of doing some dollar cost averaging, whether you just put money into the market, into investments every month, regardless of the current economic situations, because over the long run it will go up. And now I think that about wraps is this video. If you have any questions or comments, let me know in down below. As always, thanks for much for watching, and I see you in the next time.